The multiplayer tab of Minecraft has nearly endless games to play.
No! No!
From huge networks like Hypixel down to small groups of friends starting up Aternos servers at about 1 million ping, you can do just about anything you could imagine, and I'd argue that it's more popular than single player. A few months ago, I looked at a server called Wynncraft and its ability to take Minecraft's normal features and change them completely to create an amazing experience that I've never seen before. Wynncraft was, in my opinion, the most impressive thing ever created within Minecraft, and I never expected to find something better than it. Of course, people will always try to one-up current standards, and I think I might have found a server that does just that. This new server called Wynncraft absolutely blows previous standards out of the water because it's just so awesome. Wait, isn't that the same server? So, about that. All joking aside, I'm really blown away by the changes to this server, and I would like to share just a few of them with you because they're so cool. Even if you have seen my previous review, which you should watch if you haven't, this video brings a lot of new stuff to the table, including new quests, combat mechanics, and my favorite, a bunch of new bosses. Yay, more things that can probably one-shot me if I forget how to play the game in the middle of a fight. Also, there's some new secret stuff, but I'm not going to spoil that just yet. But I think that's enough of an introduction. I think it's finally time to show you the best server in Minecraft. Wynncraft 2.0. If you've ever played Wynncraft before, the first thing you'll notice after logging in is that none of your spells work. It appears to me that some of you watching don't know how Wynncraft works. Should've just watched my other video on it. Basically, all you need to know is that Wynncraft has 5 classes, each with 4 spells triggered by different patterns of your right and left mouse button. These classes are the Archer, Warrior, Assassin, Mage, and Shaman, and here are their spells. Oh, not done reading? Too bad, they only gave me a 20-second time slot. Goodbye! The reason you can't use your spells is because the devs spilled apple juice on the servers. That's not right. The devs completely reworked the combat system by adding a skill tree to each class with 3 different paths. Leveling up slowly gives you ability points, and you can choose to go all on one path or mix and match abilities for an advantage. First off, with the Archer class, we have the Bolt Slinger, which functions very similar to Archer before the update in that it slings bolts at enemies. The biggest change is that your Arrow Shield spell will spawn 2 little bows over your head that will aimbot surrounding mobs worse than one of those 2018 Fortnite hacker clips.
He's hacking, take him serious, he's hacking. He can't build, man, don't.
That archetype is followed by the Sharpshooter, which is built around the focus bar.
Hocus pocus, there's pizza on your focus.
Gaining 2 focus lets you crouch to charge up a super laser that you can use to snipe enemies halfway across the map. But that's not the best part, because at 5 or more focus, you can cast the Arrow Storm spell to lift up into the air and rain down hundreds of homing arrows that absolutely shred everything. I don't have the best gear in this clip, and I still shred hundreds of thousands of damage in just a few seconds. Lastly, we have the Trapper variant. This set of upgrades is pretty cool, as you can lay down exploding traps with the Arrow Bomb spell. You can also spawn in your very own dog to help you drag mobs into your traps. But the best part of the Trapper is easily the new grappling hook upgrade. I got distracted so many times while making this video just kind of launching around cities because it's so fun. You can even latch onto mobs and shoot them into the sky, which is pretty funny. Actually, wait a minute, that gives me an idea. Hey villager, what are you doing? Come here. Don't worry, this will only take a minute. Like 2 minutes, just 2.
1 hour later.
So, how you like Rock? A lot of fire here. It's cool, I guess. Now don't worry, I'm not just gonna rant about the archetypes for 10 minutes, because there's a bunch of other really cool things in this update, but first, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you clicked the join button yet? Oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong flashcard. Where'd that thing go? Ah, here we go. Can you guess which one of these bosses is the hardest? Is it A, the final boss of the hardest dungeon in the game with an ability that can siphon 99% of your health at once? Is it possibly B, this level 300 raid boss with 22 million health? More on that later. Or is it possibly C, this warm-up boss for a level 80 quest? I don't know why this is the way it is, but I got one-shot so many times by the arena mechanics on a level 106 class, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, what am I gonna do? Look at the telegraphed attacks? Oh yeah, okay. Now there's another set of abilities to go through, so let's do a speed round with the warrior. The paladin takes the stereotype that warriors are tanky and turns it up to 11 by making you take literally no damage. Like, I went to the bathroom and got food while being attacked in a level 100 zone, and I was totally fine. The only downside is that the paladin does less damage than throwing uncooked pasta at the prototype Terex 33-19 Titan Ultra Class Mining Dump Truck, but seeing as you have an ability called Second Chance that saves you from dying, with a 10-minute cooldown, that's kinda understandable. The Fallen class reverses the roles by adding in the Corrupted state. While corrupted, you're unable to heal, and damage dealt to you increases the amount of damage you deal out. This is a super fun way to play, and you can really see a difference between fighting at full health and being on the edge of dying. Oh yeah, the Battle Monk kinda spams spells. That's mostly it. I do like this variant too, and it works pretty well even if I don't know where I am half the time because you fly all over the place. Now before I continue, I just can't wait. I gotta talk about the new and updated bosses added in the update because you know how much I like them. There was really a lot of work put into boss fights in general because not only did they add a whole new raid to the game, which I'll explain later, but they also updated a few older bosses as well to make them more interesting than just kinda looking at them and attacking. Along with feeding many bosses solid uranium to make them start glowing in fights. Don't do that at home, by the way. I know YouTube's gonna get mad or something. They updated all the bosses in the Cura Hive challenge to have special mechanics. For example, the Psychomancer of the Thunder Division copies himself all over the arena, so you have to find where the real one is. If you're like me, he probably teleported into a wall or something.
I'm going to get stuck in the wall.
For the Air Division, when you fight the Spirit of Gale, you get to enjoy endless explosions as Gale calls down airstrikes on top of your head. The boss of the Earth Division, the Genesis Revorce, actually has two mechanics. Don't correct me on that, by the way, I only did about 3 minutes of research. First of all, as the boss takes damage, he will start to collapse the room on top of you as well as shaking you up into the air. If you have a class like Shaman, you can kinda just start flying because he's constantly taking damage. Secondly, after a certain point in his health bar, a timer starts that ends with him totally collapsing the room around you and instantly game ending you. My character literally survives falling from the Earth to the moon in another quest, but a little bit of structural instability takes him out. Okay. The Water Division's boss is called the Oceanic Judge, and he kinda just makes these staves move around the ring to do damage to you, but the real challenge is the Solar Vanguard of the Fire Division. This is the boss I was talking about earlier in that question thingy, and while he isn't quite as hard as I was saying, he's still, like, weirdly hard. He's almost as hard as the final boss, Kira, because he covers over half the arena in lava geysers, as well as tiles on the floor that make you take a ton of damage. When you beat all 5 of those bosses, you will then be able to fight the final boss of the Hive, Kira. As far as I can tell, she has 3 different stages of attacks, and she slowly adds in abilities as the fight progresses. It starts out with a debuff to your mana, followed by telegraphed explosions that corner off different parts of the arena. She also has the same kind of attack as the Water Division guy with the staves that move around the arena, but it's big enough that you can pretty much just ignore these. Overall, while quite challenging, these changes are pretty good and make the fights a lot more interesting. Oh, also they added in a bunch of dialogue, so that's a bonus. It's usually something along the lines of, "Ha, you can't beat me. Ah, you beat me. What?
What?
Back on the topic of classes, I've said previously that my favorite class was the Mage, so I had high expectations for the update. While I do have some small issues with things like the teleport spell, overall I think the archetypes are pretty cool. The Riftwalker keeps the same playstyle as before the update with the addition of time dilation, which increases your walk speed as you sprint. It also adds in time lock, which can lock your mana in place for a few seconds and basically let you spam spells. Secondly, we have the Lightbender, which changes your meteor spell into these little balls of light that attack with your main attack. It also has a buffed healing spell that can do damage to mobs and spawn even more of these little light thingies spinning around you. That's all well and good, but last of all we have the Arcanist, which I'd say is the most chaotic of the mage archetypes because it has arcane transfer. As you hit mobs with offensive spells, you add mana to a mana bank that you can then transfer into usable form. It's like real life, you gotta spend money to make money. If money was mana and spending it was throwing rocks at people. Also, if you have 120 mana in your bank when transferring, you will automatically cast the last 5 spells you use free of charge. And as you can see by this health bar, it gets a little bit crazy. Also, before we move on, the devs updated a ton of the server's quests. I won't say a lot because I don't want to spoil them for you, but the updated puzzles and storylines are actually really fun. My favorite of the new quests is probably Hollow Serenity because it's really calm and has puzzles that match the story very well and didn't make me use the wiki for once. Also, you best believe I went to do the ultimate weapon on all 5 of my classes because you can sell that dagger at an NPC for so much and I was ready for a sweet payday. Now I've come to the point in the video where I'm gonna complain for a little bit about the assassin class. Before the update, this class was used to deal high damage really quickly and then sneak away to recharge with the vanish spell. Now, you have a couple different playstyles, but there's one small caveat. They're all bad. Actually, no, everybody says that, but then I get this build that does 1,000,000 damage a hit, so why does everybody say assassin is bad? I tried it, and it's awesome. Oh, wait, that's why. What if I tried? Ooh, that's pretty good. Oh, never mind. Please remove vanish cooldown salted. Now, I was able to do that much damage with the Shade Stepper archetype. This is based around going invisible and then stacking a bunch of buffs to then throw the equivalent of the Eiffel Tower at the enemy. That's almost the opposite of the next archetype, the Trickster, which has the ability to create shadow clones to take hits for you and mimic your spells. I think this idea is really cool, but it's so weak because there's a 60% damage reduction while your clones are out. Disclaimer, I have not played the Trickster in the latest patch, so it could be better, but one person said it's still bad, so I'm putting all my faith in that response. Lastly, we have the most viable assassin variant, the Acrobat. While most people agree that this is the best version of the assassin, it is in my opinion the hardest archetype to use, as its main goal is to stay airborne for a damage buff. Mechanics like the double and wall jumps, slow fall, and lacerate spell make this possible, but it's so hard to do effectively that you might as well just play Battle Monk, where the hand pain actually gets you somewhere. In case for some reason you want to try flying with the Acrobat, here are 3 easy steps in order to do so. You know it's not 3, right? Here are 5 easy steps in order to fly. No. Okay, fine, it's 8 steps. You ready? 1. Jump or wall jump. 2. Look up. 3. Cast dash. 4. Crouch for slow fall. 5. Cast lacerate. 6. Double jump. 7. Repeat steps 3 through 7. 8. Forget how to cast spells and fall out of the sky. Also make sure not to lag, have bad mana regen, or run out of slow fall while doing it. Make sense? Okay, good. Hi, it's me again. I'm pretty sure me writing the script had never tried Assassin Fly, so I'm gonna make this so much easier. Pretty much just hold, jump, and crouch, and then cycle, dash, and lacerate. That's it. It's easy now. It still feels like it's giving me carpal tunnel, but at least I don't have to remember things now. Okay, bye! To be fair, many people use this class very effectively, and most of the time you are going to be fighting on the ground where you can reset your double jumps and slow fall easier, but this class just isn't for me. I'd personally rather one punch man everything with the Shade Stepper, even if I do have the health of a sauteed onion. Actually, I was pretty hard on Assassin in general, because there are definitely ways to play with all of them, even if they do need some hefty buffs. Now, before we talk about the most overpowered class, I did promise an explanation of the new raid, the Nameless Anomaly. As with the previous raids in the game, this new one starts out with 3 warm-up rooms, each followed by buffs to make the final boss possible. These pre-boss challenges range from finding hidden mobs in dark rooms to different ways of destroying void holes, which are what the raid is based around. The final boss of the raid is the Nameless Anomaly himself, and he is said to be the reason that void holes exist all around the map. MatPat, I'm still waiting for a lore video. Please tell me where this thing came from. This fight is really intense, and it gets harder as it goes along because the boss will slowly put void holes all over the arena that will damage you and teleport you if you fall in. Also, 3 times during the fight, he will teleport to the center of the arena and enter the watching phase. When he watches you, he will fire explosive attacks that deal 55% of your max health regardless of your armor. Now, I don't know about you, but people don't usually explode when I look at them. This attack is pretty much the only thing in the game that can kill paladins because it completely bypasses all of their defense. Aside from that, he also has a very large range of attacks, anywhere from throwing heat-seeking versions of his face at you to portaling things in over your head. Also kinda unrelated, I have a theory that the only reason the anomaly wants to kill you is because people keep bullying him. People found an exploit right away where you could just stick him against a wall and he wouldn't move. And finally, brave viewer, you have made it to the most overpowered class, the Shaman. This was previously the hardest class to use, and it needed a lot of buffs, but I think it was a little bit overcorrected. First of all, we have the Acolyte, which has the main feature of siphoning your health into a blood pool that is used to do extra damage and heal any player hit with the aura spell. It also has this laser thing that you can shoot when you cast the Uproot spell, but it doesn't feel very useful to me. Something that is super useful are the masks of the Ritualist. This is one of the most versatile classes, as each of the 3 masks buff different things. The Mask of the Lunatic gives a boost to damage, the Mask of the Fanatic increases your defense, and the Mask of the Coward makes you a cow. No, that's not right. The Mask of the Coward actually gives you a bunch of walk speed and makes the Hull spell bounce you off the ground a few more times. You can equip each mask depending on the situation you need it for, and using the spell related to it will slowly charge up the Awaken bar. Once this is fully charged, you can change your mask to put on all 3 masks at once and get all of the buffs. Those masks are powerful and fun to play with, but by far the best Shaman archetype is the Summoner. I personally call this version of the Shaman the AFK class because once you toss out the 3 total totems that this class is allowed to use, you pretty much just don't have to do anything. Each of your totems can spawn little puppets that will automatically attack nearby enemies, and casting Uproot at your totems will spawn up to 2 special puppets that bully mobs into your totems, which also do passive damage. This is so fun to use because you can drop your totems on a boss and then move to another country and your puppets will do all the work while you get the A+ on the assignment. But now that you've seen all 15 archetypes, I'm going to rank them from least to most favorite. There isn't really anything specific going into this, just what I like playing pretty much. Of course, as I said previously, the Trickster only deals in emotional damage, so I'm going to put it right down at the... Nah, I can't do that. As little damage as it does, it's actually quite fun to play and lag my game with, so I'm going to put it at 14, right above the Acrobat. I just don't like Carpal Tunnel, what can I say? At 13, we have the Paladin. It's pretty cool, but it's basically just a damage sponge at the end of the day. At 12th, we have the Bolt Slinger. It does a lot of damage and it's pretty good to use, but it basically just cycles 2 spells and then maybe escape if you're feeling spicy. Even though Mage was and will always be my top class, I'm placing Lightbender at 11th because it also doesn't do much more than just punch with the orbs and heal occasionally. Now at number 10, we have the Acolyte. The whole blood pool concept is really quite interesting to use, but I feel like it could do a little bit more than is in the game right now, so it gets a slightly lower tier on the list. Now directly following that at 9th, we have another Shaman variant, and one that might surprise you, the Ritualist. The masks are quite cool and interesting to use, but this is just a case of I don't like it as much as some of the others. And coming in at number 8th, we have the Riftwalker. With Riftwalker, I do like the walk speed boosting mechanic as well as the mana freeze, but I can't put it much higher as it doesn't do any damage, which makes using it a lot harder. But in 6th place, we have the Summoner, which gets this high because it's really funny to melt enemies even if you aren't doing that much. 7th place is our last assassin variant, the Shade Stepper. This variant doesn't really do anything too special, but I do really enjoy one-shotting everything with my build, so it gets a boost on the list for me. I have a confession to make. While my build is mainly Shade Stepper oriented, it doesn't use the main gimmick of Shade Stepper with the backstab. To be honest, it actually uses a little bit of Trickster in there.
It was said that you would destroy them,
Tricksters.
not join them!
Now with that being said, here are my choices for what I think are the most fun classes to play. At number 5, we have the Battle Monk. I did originally have this a little bit higher because I use it a lot and it does decent damage without as much hand pain as the Acrobat, but I moved it down because its mechanics are pretty basic other than just casting random spells. I do like uppercut surfing though, that's pretty fun. Now at number 4, we have the most visually interesting variant, the Sharpshooter. I gotta say, when I saw the laser in the 2.0 trailer, I thought it was so cool, and then using it in game was even cooler because it outranges everything. That combined with the early array makes this a genuinely amazing class to play with. The only downside is that my seeking arrows kind of get lost sometimes, but whatever. Now my top 3, we have a class that weaseled its way in because of one upgrade. I still can't get over how fun it is to launch around with the Trapper's grappling hook, and I kind of want to go do that right now actually. I'll be right back. I also do really like the idea of placing down traps for mobs, and the fact that I can spawn in a pet dog, that's just the icing on the cake. Now for our number 2 spot, we have something that just had to make it high on the list for me, the Arcanist. Because I always love spamming spells before the update, this was the class that I always wanted, and even though it's hard to get right sometimes, I just love raining chaos down on enemies even if I don't have a heal spell. But that leaves us with the number 1 spot. At number 1, we have an archetype that surprised even me that it was this fun. The Fallen. Hi, I'm making a last minute change and I refuse to re-record all the rest of the audio, so have fun with this. It turns out my original Arcanist build was really bad, and once I actually got the chance to go through and make something proper, it was so fun. I still haven't quite figured out whether or not I would put it above the Fallen, but it's at least tied. Seeing as it's Mage and I spent way too much money on all the Mage mythics, it can have number 1, whatever. Okay, bye. I had no idea this was gonna be so fun to play with, but there's something just amazing about balancing your health with your damage output. Taking a while to kill a boss? Try getting a little bit lower on health. Out of mana? Doesn't matter, you can use your health as mana. Getting a little bit too low? Uncorrupt and get a boost of health back based on how many mobs you killed. I used this to run the Eldritch Outlook dungeon twice, as well as the Legendary Challenge 4 times because I was just having so much fun. And I needed diamond fiber stuff for my Shade Stepper build. Oh, also they updated one of the dungeons called Galleon's Graveyard. I don't have much to say about this because I was somehow confused at what I was doing the entire time, but I still beat it, and they made several parts of the old version so much cooler. But all in all, I'm so happy about this update to the server, and while some of the archetypes aren't my favorite to use, they all bring something new and unique to the table that I haven't even seen in modded Minecraft. The new boss fight changes and the team raid are an absolute treat to try and really satisfying to beat, and the new quests are so interesting and fun to play. Oh yeah, I forgot, I promised a secret, didn't I? Okay, I won't spoil too much, but I will say that this boss fight on screen is still the best. But that just about does it for Wynncraft 2.0 for today. If you haven't watched the first part, why? But make sure to like the video and click the funny red button below, and please do consider joining the channel because it really does help out. Also, I do have a Discord server in the description if you care about that, but I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.